Hello, everybody. This is Raul Gonzalez.
And I'm Oscar Ibieta.
And this is Medicare Agent IQ. And we say this every time. I'm kind of ready to stop saying it, but we'll do it. The reason that we do this is we are trying to help independent insurance agents to be more successful. Actually, not even just independent insurance agents. I got an email the other day from an employee of one of the large carriers, and they were like, "Hey, man, I could really use some help on some of this." So it's for everybody. If you work in Medicare, we're here to try to help you to do better. You could be brand new, you could be a seasoned veteran, and I think you're going to find some content that's going to be helpful here. So. Today is, you know what, I'm trying to look at what today is. Today is September the 6th. It's that's when this is going to be airing, September the 6th. And we're not even a month away from AEP. Well, from pre-AEP, right? So a little over a month away from the actual AEP. And so there's some things that we think that you should be doing and maybe should have already started and should have already done. But we're gonna go ahead and talk through how to get ready for AEP, even if you haven't started preparing.
A little bit of a checklist, I think, is how you can look at this thing. And there's a lot time-wise, and when we're looking at the timeline, we're about a month away, but it may feel like it's too late. A lot of this stuff that we may be going over should have already been done, so you can go down that checklist, make sure you've already done it. But if you haven't done some of these things, there's still time.
Now's the time.
It's got to be done
going,
now.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, the first one I think that we have to make sure that we've done is going to be making sure that you're certified. Right. Yeah. And I think that there's a lot of agents out there that they're struggling with that. There's so many carriers now and they all want you to do certifications. It's a lot of work. And so I understand that it's a lot, but it's worth it. And it's something really probably should have been done in July, right?
Yeah, as soon as they come out, because we get questions from agents that will ask us, "Hey, by when do I have to have these certifications done?" And our answer is always July. And the reason for that, and we're going to dive into it, is because you want to spend this time of the year as we get into September and closer to AEP, preparing for those rollouts, those first looks, knowing what the plans are looking like. You don't want to be spending this time of the year getting certified and trying to check those items off your list. So the answer is always July. Get them off your plate, put them behind you, and start moving forward and preparing for AEP.
Yeah, what I would say is that if you haven't already started, then you should have, but don't be discouraged. It's not too late. You can get it done. But I might even do it, in the middle of the night, or not in the middle of the night, but
I won't.
during prime time hours. What I'm saying is, there's a lot to be doing right now to prepare for AEP. And if you haven't completed the certifications, I wouldn't work from 8 to 5 knocking out your AHIP, knocking out your certifications. What I would do is I would be working on a lot of these other things that we're going to be talking about during this time. And then maybe when you're done with that during the 6 o'clock hour, 7 o'clock hour, or 5 in the morning, if that's the kind of person that you are, that's when I would probably start focusing on knocking out the rest of these certifications.
Yeah. And let's talk real quick AHIP, right? With some of the carriers still require it, and there are some carriers that no longer require it. Now, for the carriers that don't require it, I think that's great. But that's great if that's the only carrier that you write business with. And we as brokers, if you represent multiple carriers, some of these carriers are going to require you to do AHIP. And so let's talk United Healthcare. You can go straight to the carrier certification. You don't have to take AHIP, but our recommendation would be to take AHIP first before you jump into the United Healthcare certification, just because there's a lot of information that you will learn, that you can take in, and it also shortens up that certification for United Healthcare. So it's your Medicare 101. It's a lot of situations, scenarios. That's what that AHIP exam is, and that translates directly to what we do when we're out in the field. We're dealing with these types of scenarios.
Yeah, and there was a couple people, I didn't get to do it, but if you're you're an agent with United where they didn't require you to do the whole AEP. I mean, the even the whole certification, right? You just went straight to the test.
The fast track is what it was called.
Yeah.
I think if you've been writing business with them for at least 2 years, you qualify for the fast track certification.
2 years and a certain amount of production.
Yeah, I think so. There's also some,
because I didn't qualify, and I've been doing this a lot longer than 2 years. So, but yeah, you have to actually produce. And what I will say, if you don't, this is your first time listening, if your first time watching us. I don't write a whole lot of business anymore. I used to. I spent a lot of years writing business. Now what I mostly do is I help other agents to do it. So in the role that I'm in today, I'm doing less writing on my own and more helping others to be successful doing this. So that's why you won't see that I'm qualifying for some of those things. It's not because I'm not capable. So just want to put that out there. So the first thing that I would be doing right now, just to kind of transition away from the certifications, first thing I would be doing is looking for senior centers to work with. And here's the thing, is that right now that's what a lot of agents are doing. A lot of them are. So I might go outside of the main metro, or the most saturated part of the metro area, right? I would make sure that I'm looking at that I'm looking 20-minute drive outside of the city and see if I can find senior centers that aren't being touched, right?
Yeah. I think that's a great strategy, a great idea when you're out in the field and you're looking for these places. As a matter of fact, this happened to me just the other day. My wife and I went to a birthday party and we were out in a small town called Schertz, Texas, just outside of San Antonio. And we were driving through this community and we saw a community center. And I thought, okay, well, let me stop and Google this place, or let me Google this place at some point and see what it is that they do there. And those are things that you can implement on your end. When you're out in the field, you don't have to actively be looking for these places, but when you are out and about doing your own thing, keep an eye out, head on a swivel. But Google, there's also Google. Yeah. You can look up senior centers, outside in different target small towns and try and find those senior centers and get in there and try and create a relationship with them. See if you can host some educational seminars, or as we get ready to move into AEP, even some sales seminars inside to talk about what the plan benefits are looking like for next year.
Yeah, and one thing that I would really like to tell everybody is that you probably should be doing this outside of AEP also. And so what we're doing is some last minute preps for people maybe who haven't prepared. Maybe this is your first time, but what I'm hoping is that, as an agency leader myself, I would say that we recommend that people stay in contact with senior centers all year long. So a lot of times it'll be interesting when we take an agent out. It might be in the middle of May, and we'll tell them, "Hey, let's go create a relationship." And we talk to them and say, "Oh yeah, we don't really see a whole lot of agents. We only see them in October and November." And so, side note. If you go out and you create this relationship, don't just stop because it's not AEP. There's a whole year that you have to create this relationship. So the idea would be, and of course you can't go back in time now, but for future years, go back in there. Don't just be a face that comes around October, November, because what I'm hoping is that I've been there October, I've been there November, I've been there all year long, every single month. By the time next October comes around, I'm a familiar face. People know who I am, and they're going to be more likely to talk to me than the guy who's just coming. I point at you, sorry. the guy who's just
Oscar
coming,
who just goes in October, November.
Right? Because they know my face. I'm familiar to them. I'm a person that is kind of built trust because I'm not just here today, gone tomorrow. So
it's a relationship.
Yeah. So please don't just go in October, November. If you do, I mean, obviously there's some opportunity there, but the biggest opportunity is going all year long. And by next year or 2 AEPs from now, can you imagine how much trust that you've built with the people in that community? Yeah. So what are you going to do at those senior centers, Oscar? What kind of events?
Well, I mentioned a couple of them, right? We have you can host educational seminars, or you can talk about what plan, you can pick a certain plan and do a sales seminar and speak about the actual benefits, but really just engage with the people that are in there. People like to do bingo events is something that you can do when you're in there, or even just bring in something from the outside. You can host something that ties around Thanksgiving and have some kind of giveaway when we're talking about AEP, Halloween, have a candy give, put something that's going to interact with the seniors, and just something that you're bringing something different to the table inside of this building.
Yeah, absolutely. And one other thought that I have is you could get like a Plinko, and just set it up, and I've got some prizes. It's kind of like right. Do something that is going to grab their attention, and you're going to see that you're going to be creating relationships. When everybody starts smiling, there's just a different energy in the room. So I would do that. I would say that depending on the senior center you go to, sometimes they're not going to want you to do a sales seminar. They don't want you actively selling in there, and that could be part of what you tell them also. Like, hey, I'm not going to be out here just selling. What my goal here is, I'm going to create relationships, and then if there's a need, I'm going to help meet that need, and really be kind of passive about it, because a lot of them are protecting their seniors. They don't want those hard sales, right? And which hopefully we're not doing hard sales anyway, right? That's part of Medicare, is that there really shouldn't be too aggressive in your closing style and things like that. We don't
bring in some prizes. Go to a Dollar General, go to a Dollar Tree, find some small prizes and bring them in. So when you come in and do these events, you've got something to give away, and it doesn't have to be this grand thing. When we talk about prizes, sometimes agents think that's a huge investment. I can't be doing this every time that I'm going out and doing an event. It's more of a gesture. Seniors love the fact that you're just coming in with something to give to them.
Yeah, and partner with your upline, partner with the provider group, partner with the carrier, and sometimes maybe partner with all four. One thought that I just had as we're going through is like, why not do like a pumpkin painting in October? Because you see there's a lot of people who have pumpkins, and so you could bring in some paint, go to Michael's, and it's not super expensive to do. The best part is you can go back in and do it again, because you've got the materials. Really, the cost would be pumpkins, and you could just get the small ones. It doesn't have to be large pumpkins. And to be honest, just imagine an 85-year-old lady trying to carry one of these. So don't do that. Just bring in the small pumpkin, and there you go. There's your first event. And so I would encourage you, get out there and do that. Do it with several. Depending on the market that you're in, especially if you're not in a market where everybody is where there's a huge penetration rate, you probably have an opportunity where there's not a lot of agents that are working there. Go and do a pumpkin painting party at 5 or 6 senior centers throughout your area, and get out there and be a part of the community, and you're going to see that a lot of good can come from that. Mm-hmm. Not just during AEP, but definitely right now, today's a day. Stop what you're doing, get in the car, and go and create a relationship with a senior center or a senior living community also. I think could be a great opportunity. Mm-hmm. So the next one is partnering with healthcare professionals. So again, something that should be done all year long, but what if you haven't done it already? It's not too late. Go out there, and I would say it's too late to build kind of that really strong relationship, but it's not too late to get out there and talk to a dentist about growth. Like, hey, we can help you grow. Talk to a doctor about, hey, if you're looking to grow your panel, what happens is that a lot of times I am meeting with seniors who don't have a good doctor and just would love to tell them about the experience that they would get here. And my hope, and I always put this out there, my hope is that you would return the favor. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of, I was talking with an agent the other day. They were like, yeah, I think it was a doctor. I sent this doctor 8 new clients in the last month, and they haven't sent me anything back. And I'm like, oh, okay, we got to make sure that we're doing a good job of setting up expectations that this is hopefully a partnership where I'm referring people to you, and then you're referring people over to me. And so, especially if you run into someone who is looking to grow their panel, like a doctor who says, you know what, I want to grow. Well, let's make sure that we're reciprocating here, right?
Yeah, it's super important. I think with the dentist, right, touching on that, this time of year, looking at those sneak peeks and understanding what these plans are looking like for next year, this is an opportunity for you as an agent to go to understand what these dental benefits are looking like for next year. Do your homework on these providers. Know which plans that they accept, who they're in network with, who they don't accept, so that when you go in and create this relationship, you already kind of have an idea of what your strategy is looking like. Look for the opportunities.
Yeah, and like, don't waste your time. Like, what I like to do is I like to strategize before I go out. So look up doctors in a certain zip code and figure out, okay, which doctors are in network for the plan that I'm working with. But one of the things that you might see is if it says not accepting new patients, clearly they're not looking to grow. Maybe that's not there still could be opportunity there, don't get me wrong, but the greatest opportunity are doctors who are looking to grow, because they're willing to kind of, if they have good business savvy, they're thinking, okay, if I help them, they're going to help me, and vice versa. And then you can really kind of grow a lot with them.
Yeah, be strategic. I know my personal dentist that I go to, they are in network with some of the carriers that we work with. And I walked in there and I see business cards of 4 different Medicare agents, and there's already a pop-up banner
from a different one,
another,
right?
yeah, from another agent. It's like, okay, well, maybe this isn't the right, and maybe there is, like you said, maybe there is still some opportunity there, but for the most part, I don't like my chances. I'm going to go and look for a dentist that...
Not already working with 10 people?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. One of the... try to... When you're addressing them, and I'm thinking of doctors here, there's some concerns that sometimes that they'll have. And one of those concerns is that they've heard that steering is a concern for CMS, and a lot of times they get these emails from CMS saying, make sure that you're not steering people to a certain plan. And so if you're an independent agent who works with several carriers, one of the things that you can do is address that concern and say, hey, look, I work with several carriers. I work with all the carriers that you accept, right? And that's who I'm working with. So you don't ever have to worry about steering, because I'm not looking to grow one plan. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sit with the individual. I'm going to ask them some questions. I'm going to get to know them and what's important to them, and that's how I'll make a recommendation. So you never have to worry about something like that. We're just going to make sure that they accept a plan that you work with. And the reason is, and the kind of like the spin that you put on it is, what we're trying to do is make sure that you're not losing your patients, right? We want to make sure that the people that are already with you, that you're not losing them. A lot of times when people turn 65, they might end up changing their doctor, changing their plan, and going off into something brand new, because they're more likely to shop during that time. So let's go ahead and just kind of address those concerns and kind of be proactive about how you're going to address those concerns. Mm-hmm. So the next one is review and update marketing materials. And this one's kind of a sore subject for me this year. And I'm going to tell you. So, there's a lot of rule changes that have recently come out from CMS. And I guess understanding the reason for all of it is important. So I understand that there's been 3 times as many complaints every year. It's like they're tripling. But this has caused the rule change this year. Basically, all marketing materials need to be approved and even approved by the carrier. And the way that it's looking for me is really, you're not supposed to do generic marketing if you're gonna talk about benefits whatsoever. Generic meaning just branding your company, right? Just branding your insurance agency, Raul's Insurance Agency. Look at a Medicare plan that has dental, and even if you're not putting the actual amount. So a lot more rules this year. And what I would say is, in a lot of ways, I might just go to the carrier, right? And find things that they've already gotten approved. It might make your job a little easier, especially if you haven't started doing this a while ago. Who are the carriers with some of the best marketing materials?
The easiest one is United Healthcare.
Right.
Go into Jarvis, go into the toolkit, and everything that you see in there is already approved And so you are free to use that. You can customize, or you, to an extent, you can't change everything completely, but you can put your information on there. And really the idea is just to get your name out there and to market yourself in a certain way. Humana has some material. You can go into their portal.
It's gotten a lot better.
Yeah, they have. They've made it a lot easier. And then I know I haven't been into Aetna's portal in a while, but I don't know if they just if they launched the new.
They revamped it, which is good. I haven't seen it yet. I don't think it's available, but their old one left something to be desired. Yeah. Here's what I would tell you, and carriers, listen up. We're insurance agents. We're out in the field. You got to do a better job of, especially now with all the updated rules. And we're small agencies. We're trying to help you and trying to grow and trying to be successful. You got to have better options for generic marketing. You got to have better options for us, and to where we're not also all using the same thing. So I love that United Healthcare has their options, but I would love to see more. I would love to see the option to have 8 different pieces, to where it's not all looking like we're using the same marketing pieces. I do understand that there's value in that for the carrier, right? So the value is the more that people see that marketing piece, then there's going to finally be that one where they respond to that call to action. But for us, we want to figure out a way to stand out. I want to be the card that is responded to, and that's why, for the most part, for the longest time, we created our own marketing material, because we wanted to stand out. And so it's a little bit of a struggle, but what I would tell you is go and find carrier pieces, make sure that you acquaint yourself with them, how to get to them, print them up, use it for flyers. You can use it for all different kinds of things. We do have very generic flyers that you can still get approved. Like, we even have the Medicare card approved on one of our flyers, but it makes no mention of benefits. And that's kind of if you want to keep it generic, you can't really mention a lot of the benefits. So it's kind of that one's a little bit of a sore subject, but keep up with it and make sure all the carriers kind of put it out, their AEP stuff out on 10/1. Yeah. And the reason that they're doing that is they're just making sure that nobody's using their stuff before 10/1. But it's a bit of a challenge. But there's still opportunities there. You can still get some good designs done, as long as you keep it very generic. Don't talk benefits at all. So next one we have here is train on the latest Medicare changes. So we just talked about some right now.
And this is super important. I feel like we can talk for a very long time on the importance of this particular piece that we're about to dive into. But you want to make sure that you're staying updated with any changes that are coming to policies and to the benefits. You have to understand, as an agent, what new products are coming in, where these products are going to be, if there are any products that are leaving the market. Knowing this, having this information is going to allow you to create an opportunity for yourself as an agent. We always talk about this, right? In order to have a very successful AEP, we're looking for disruption, and we're looking for opportunity. And here we are. I'm entering my 11th AEP, and it seems like every year, sometimes we have huge disruption in our markets where this is where the opportunity is, but other times it's not a huge disruption, but there's still ways that you can find opportunity. And so as an agent, it's important for you to know what these planned benefit changes are going to be.
Hey, let's real quick. Would you explain what disruption is for those who are newer in the industry or maybe not familiar with the term?
Yeah, so I mentioned if a plan's leaving the market. So recently in the San Antonio market, we had a plan that left the market last year, or a piece of the plan, not the entire carrier, but one of their plans left the market. And so what that meant is on January 1st, those people were no longer going to be on that plan. So we had to, and they were just going to be left on original Medicare if they didn't make any changes. So as agents, that was an opportunity. So it caused disruption, and it created opportunity for an agent. We were out there looking for these individuals that were on this plan so that we could show them what other options they have going into the new year.
Yeah, those are some of the best years that you can have. And so if you're in a market where you are seeing that people are leaving that there's a carrier or a plan that's leaving the market, that is a time where you should be licking your chops and getting out there. This is going to be a great year if you do it the right way.
Yeah. So. One of the things that I want a message that I really want to get out to agents is get to those first looks, or if you're not, see if they're hosting any in person in your market. If not, they're online. You can find them within the carrier portal. Get in there, figure out what these plans are looking like for next year, because I can't tell you enough how important this is. If you don't know what plans are looking like for next year, how are you going to come up with a strategy for AEP? If this plan is reducing their dental, if they're improving their dental, if they're adding another plan to their portfolio, if one of the competitors is coming in strong with certain benefits, look these things up, get to these first looks. Understanding the benefits in the market that you're working in is probably one of the most important pieces to having a successful AEP. How do we know what to get out there and sell if we don't know what these plans look like?
Right. Yeah. You know, the problem is, like, if you work in a market like we do, there's so many plans, right? So many meetings during September, and just kind of gearing up for all the things. And if you're a person where you're kind of overwhelmed by all that, you can make some decisions on, all right, well, I don't need to go to the happy hour one. Like, you know, that's not going to help me. But the parts that are going to help me is where we're talking benefits, we're talking about changes in the plans and those types of things. So there's a bunch of meetings. Be a part of them, and you are going to you won't regret it. There's been a lot of webinars, there's a lot of workshops that agencies are doing, but also the carriers. So just be a part of them. This is a time where hopefully you've done some resting in April. You've done some resting in May. You went on a nice vacation in June. September is a time where it's time to get to work. And so you're going to be busy. You're going to be at a lot of these things. So just be engaged. Any other thoughts on that?
No, I think just to echo what you said, show up to these things, and that's going to help. You know, we talked about creating relationships with providers and dentists, different types of providers. I think having those relationships with the carriers, if there are any local managers available, getting out there and meeting these people, you can really benefit from it. So we encourage it. Yeah.
One thing I'll also say is during this time is, and it should be for all times, but make sure that you have at least some kind of social media presence, like a Facebook or something for your. Remember, this is your company, right? This is your agency. And so a lot of times agents don't realize it's a great opportunity. What I would do is ask all your friends and family to follow it, obviously. And you could just put it out there. Hey, this is what I do. My strategy is that I don't think that it should just be constantly posting about business, because if you do, you're going to lose a lot of people's interests, lose a lot of engagement. People are out of there. So just do other things like, hey, happy Friday, everybody. What are you most excited about this week? Those types of things. Throw those out there so people get used to engaging with the page, and every once in a while throw in some business stuff in there. So I would keep up with that on a regular basis, and that's something else I would do with that.
I do have one more thought on
Sure.
When you asked me if I had any more thoughts. I didn't at the moment, but now I do. Order sales materials, or pre-order your sales materials. Having those materials in hand on October 1st is super important. If you don't meet the pre-order deadline, you could still go in and order. I think the carriers can get them to you by the 15th. Worst case, or there are some backup options. Get with your upline. See, a lot of times your upline may have the ability to do a bulk order, and so see if you can get some of those physical materials. Backup, like the ultimate backup plan, you can always download the materials, and you can get them on your computer, on your iPad, however it is that you do business. So you can have those materials. If you don't have it physically in your hand, you can always access it digitally, but that's important to have.
Yeah, they send it out to you like 3 or 4 days beforehand, right? They'll right before 10/1, they'll start sending it out. Yeah. And then I guess one of the last things I would just kind of make sure that I'm setting daily and even weekly goals. So I know an agent, he's one of our top agents within our agency, and he produces like crazy. But the way that he does it is that he breaks it down. Okay, I've got 7 weeks or I guess that's 7.5 weeks, right? And he'll break it down by week. I need to have this many sales, and then he also breaks it down by day. And so and you'll hear him. He's like, oh man, I didn't get to my 30 sales this week, so I'm gonna be working Saturday and Sunday, and everybody has their goals and their ways to do it. But I always talk about working backwards from your goal, and so I'll just kind of touch on that again. When I talk about working backwards from your ultimate goal, what I'm saying is, let's look, how many sales did I want to make this AEP? I want 80 sales this AEP. All right, so I've got 7 weeks to do that. How many sales do I need per week? 11 sales per week, 11 and a half, right?
Yeah.
So that's the way to work backwards. So how many is it per day, right?
It's two a day.
2 a day.
Right? If you're working Monday through Friday, if you're going to work on the weekend, give or take 2 to 3 per day.
So I would tell you that this is the harvest, right? This is the time as an agent when the most opportunity presents itself. So if it's me, I'm working Saturday. So when I was active as an agent, I used to work for Humana. I work 6 days a week. I know agents who do 7. I personally won't. I always take a rest day, and it's just the way I've always been. But some agents are willing to put that in. But I would say that this is an opportunity to work 6 days a week. And when you're working that Saturday, don't forget about the Thursday you went and played golf. Like just keep perspective is that you're going to work harder you don't have a normal job. You're working harder during this time of the year in hopes that, hey, I don't have to work as hard come April. I don't have to work as hard in June and July when I'm, or when I'm out on vacation and I'm taking my summer trip to the Caribbean or whatever it is. So all these things, we really feel like, I feel like goal setting is one of the keys to success for people. And I was reading in the book, The Power of One More, and Ed Milet, where he talks about a goal without a standard is worthless. And what that means is if you set a standard and say, hey, look, as an agent, to me, the standard should be that I at least make 70 sales during an AEP. If I don't hit that, then maybe I'm in the wrong business, and I'm not suggesting you are. 70 is depending on the agent is lofty. So we have an agent who did 204 last AEP. Mm-hmm. So it ranges, but his standard is that he needs to sell at least 180 during an AEP. That's his standard. So whatever it is, make your standard and say, you know what, like, I have a goal of hitting 100 this AEP, but the standard is I need to at least hit 60, right? So make standards along with your goals and watch how they come to pass. So just make sure that you do a good job of that. I think that's a great way to do it. Any other thoughts before we wrap up? We're here at about 32 minutes.
One last piece, if I could just throw this in there. When you're out in the field and you're meeting with prospects, you're trying to figure out ways, how can I we talked about standards, right? This is my goal for AEP. If this is the number that you want to get to and you're out there looking for these opportunities, create these opportunities. And what I mean by that is when you're out there talking to people, let them know, hey, it's open enrollment. This is the time of year where people are taking the time to review their benefits and looking to see what they look like next year. And offer a courtesy plan review, a free plan review. Let's sit down, let's see what your benefits look like for next year and see what other options are available, because plans change every year. So let's sit down and take a look at what your options are. Create that opportunity. Don't just have somebody come up to you and say, oh, I've got United Healthcare, oh, I've got Humana, I've had it for years, I love it. Take the time to say, well, Humana has a lot of different options. The benefits change every year. Let's sit down and see how your plan's looking for next year. Try and turn that into an opportunity.
Yeah, and what I'll tell people also, or what I would say is like, what I like to do is I like to talk to my clients on an annual basis and make sure, because sometimes your needs have changed. I know this plan has been working for you, but what if there's something that could have a lot more benefit? So the reason I like to say what I like to do with my clients is, in some way psychologically, it's saying to them, wait, why isn't my agent doing that? Why haven't I heard from my agent? So a lot of agents don't. Hey, one last thing. I will. We can have some bonus time. It's AEP. We got to put in some overtime, right? So I want to make sure that as an agent that all of my friends know what I do. And what I'm talking about is you have your close friends, right? You have people that you do life with, people you talk to all the time, people that are real close. On a personal level, I want to make sure that my buddy here, Oscar, knows that this is what I do. And so to the point where I'm like, hey man, don't forget, like, can you tell your grandparents about me on a personal level, like in a conversation, right? And then, of course, you have people that are less close, right? Social media friends, people that you don't see too often that are on your social media, things like that. I would kind of blanket it out there like, hey, everybody, I just want you guys to know you won't see it too much. I'm not going to be posting every day about it, but we're getting close to open enrollment, and I help people with Medicare. So if you have a friend or family member, would you do me a favor and tell them to call me? This is what I do. How annoying is it when you find out that you had one of your good friends' mom just turned 65 and you're like, man, you could have called me. Mm-hmm. It's a frustrating thing. And so we need to make sure, especially during all times, but especially during AEP, like maybe I'm going to throw out like, every once in a while, hey, this is what I do, because people will respond. Make sure everybody in your circle, everyone in your larger outer circle, but everyone in that smaller circle, everyone has to know what you do, because they're going to be more likely to refer people if they know what you do. Because I know for me, I would rather work with somebody that I know than some stranger that I'm just kind of meeting at a grocery store. So put that out there.
I always say I help strangers on a daily basis. Please allow me the opportunity to help my own friends and family.
Yeah. So, hey, everybody, we just want to wish you the best of luck this AEP. I want you to get excited, get encouraged. If you have questions or if you need assistance, we get a lot of emails from listeners, and it's pretty exciting. If you have questions, we'll gladly either talk about them here on the podcast, or we will address it via email, or even shoot you a video just for yourself of, hey, look, this is what I would do in that situation. We're here for you. This is why we're doing what we're doing. We want to help agents to be successful. So don't hesitate to reach out, or as I won't say slide into my
you won't say it, but you're saying it.
Slide into our DMs. It's fun. So yeah, let us know if there's anything else we can do. Make sure you're following us here. Share it with a friend. Make sure to engage with us on social media if you could. Like our stuff, follow, send a friend. So we'd appreciate it. Thanks so much, and until next time.